Can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? For purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm Lori LeBay, the host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks. And I have to apologize up front if I sound a little squeaky. I'm still getting over the crud, so bear with me here. Before I introduce our guest today, though, I want to just tell you a little bit about Alzheimer Speaks because we're always getting new listeners. And bottom line, we are an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. We believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to help remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help people continue to live purpose-filled lives. Together, we can really help people understand the true needs of this disease and remove the fear and isolation that separates friends and families in their communities. At our core, we also believe that collaboration is the only way that we're going to win this battle against dementia. And I know that that's working because of all of your likes and clicks and shares. You see, because of you, each one of our listeners, through your likes, your clicks, and shares with your Facebook friends, your Twitter tribes, your LinkedIn colleagues, your Pinterest pals, and so many other social media platforms out there, by sharing our information here on Alzheimer Speaks, not just the radio, but dementia chats and our blog and other resources on our website, you got us named as the #1 influencer online regarding Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And again, we could not have done that alone. So a big thanks to all of you. And I hope while you're listening, you will sit and share this show and maybe go through some of the others as well with your sphere of influence. There's so many people in our own spheres dealing with this disease that we don't even know until we give them the opportunity to kind of come out of the closet and let them feel comfortable with the conversation, letting them know it's okay to talk about this. One of the other things I always like to share with our listeners is, hey, you know what? You might be our next guest. Because here on Alzheimer Speaks Radio, we like to hear everybody's voice because this is not a disease of one. It's a disease of society. And until we listen and hear from all parties, we're really not going to be able to find a cure or take good care of people, both those diagnosed and those caring for those who are diagnosed. We're just not going to be able to do it well. So we often have people with dementia on our show. Many times I actually have a co-host, though I don't have one with me today. We have family members. We have had people who have written books, films, songs, advocates for the disease. We've had researchers like Harvard Research on, businesses that have developed services and products or tools for people. So if you think you might have a good story and have a good product, service, or tool that can help the next person, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. You can email me at Lori, Lori, at alzheimerspeaks.com, or you can always just jot me a note here in the comment section, or you can go to alzheimerspeaks.com and click on the big contact button. Now, today's show, I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about some of the differences between here in America and over in Romania. And we are so lucky to have with us Philip Choban, who is known as Flip, and he is the CEO and founder of TeleMed Europa, and he's also the managing director of Telios, Romania. He's the ambassador for Romania for the Purple Angel Dementia Education Movement, which most of you know started out of the UK, and he is also a certified Alzheimer's caregiving specialist. He leads companies in all phases and aspects of planning, from strategic financial implementation, and marketing. Philip brings with him a diverse background from investment banking, mortgage banking, syndication, private placement, manufacturing, and trade, and he has been involved in a number of startups around the world. He has lived in Hong Kong and Indonesia and India and now Romania. Philip is heavily involved in the education of Alzheimer's disease with a specific focus on caregiving for the Alzheimer's patients. He's working in conjunction with Healthcare Interactive, who happens to be Minnesota-based, who I know well here in the U.S., to develop a Romanian version of its training curriculum. Philip is widowed, and he has a daughter that resides in Romania, and he also is very avid in his fitness plan. So today we're going to be talking kind of navigating the barriers and bridges between Romania and America, and what he calls using the KISS system in healthcare. And I will let him explain that a little more. So welcome, Philip.
Thank you, Lori, for that introduction. I couldn't have said anything better myself. There. You did great. Again, I thank you, and I am very pleased to be a part of this show and discuss some of our experiences and what we foresee the future to be too. So I turn it to you now.
Okay. So to start with, why don't you tell people what brought you into the realm of dementia? Because most of us just don't walk in here, on our own. What brought you here?
Okay. I was, I'm Romanian by heritage. All of my grandparents were born here. After the revolution in 1989, I decided to come back here and see what the terrain was like. So I came back and I liked it here. So I stayed. I met a girl in 1995, and I brought her back to the States in 1998, and she liked it so much in the States that I said, let's go back home. She said, if you want to go back home, you go. I'm staying. Okay. Anyhow, to make a long story short, we were married in 1998. And in the year 2004, after finishing the Cleveland Clinic School of Nursing, in 2004, she began to come home from work, and she would forget things. She would say, I think I forgot to give this patient a shot. I think I forgot this. I think I forgot this. And we went to many, many specialists at many different clinics around. Finally, in the year 2006, one of my friends, a neurologist, said, we can't figure this out. Let's take a genetic test. We took a genetic test, and in 2 weeks' time, the results came back, and she was carrying one of the genes, the APO4 gene, or APOE gene, it is. And therefore, we knew. So after where she worked found out about this, they let her go, and we started on our journey then, I'll put it. In 2009, we came back here for a visit, and she reacted well. We went back to the States again, and all during 2011, each evening she would pack a bag and she would be by the front door of our house. And I would ask her in her language, what are you packed for? Where are you going? I'm going to see Mom. So this went on for almost a year. Finally, I telephoned her mother here, who, by the way, Carmen had another sister in the U.S. who also passed away from this disease, too. So in 2009, in November, we made the choice to move back here. And it was a good choice because all her memories from our marriage, from anything that happened in the States, all those were gone. But the memories of her growing up and in the city we moved back to, where she was born and raised, she felt at home and she remembered. So, long story short, that's how I got involved. So I was her caregiver essentially from 2004 up until lately when she passed away.
Okay. So quite the journey. And most of us have the journey, in one location, but then when you're going with not only two locations, but two different countries, two different languages to boot, those are some really big variables that have to add a lot to the journey and how you process things. Can you tell us what some of your experiences in dealing with dementia, both in the U.S. and Romania were, and kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess, of both that you saw?
Okay, let's start with the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the U.S. has one of the best medical systems throughout the world. They have one of the best diagnostic systems throughout the world. Everything though is very expensive, such as when we took her genetic test, her insurance would not pay for that test. So we paid for it from our own
out of your own
pocket
Mm-hmm.
at that time. Okay, things have changed since then. Okay, a lot. Okay, caregivers in the States are trained. Okay, but the cost is immense. Also, as well as I do, assisted living cost, home care cost. Anytime you hire somebody from the outside, it costs a lot
Mm-hmm.
of money. And for the average middle class person, which we were blessed too, but we couldn't afford to have that luxury of having somebody come in, because at the time that she was diagnosed and insurance picked up and everything, it was too late at that point in time to get long-term care insurance or any of those particular things back then. Okay, so from that standpoint, though, from the diagnosis, from the treatment, from the knowledge base, the States is very, very good. Now, inversely, coming here, all right, I brought her back here because when I brought her back here, she was comfortable here. She didn't know who I was, but she knew her mother, she knew her cousins, she knew her family here, and she had lost her ability to speak English, but Romanian, no.
Okay.
She kept that, okay? And if I can add, here's a girl, by the way, that spoke Romanian, English, French, Italian, German, Hungarian.
Wow.
All fluently.
Wow.
Okay. So bringing her back here was actually a great choice, everything, because she felt at home, she felt relaxed. The doctors here also weren't like they are in the States, although, again, in the States, the knowledge base is good, but it's more like a machine there. the doctors here are more clinically based, and they take their time with you. And for that is something that I cannot be thankful enough for, everything. Plus, the biggest factor was the cost of her care. Instead of being able not to be able to afford a person there, or home care, or nursing home care, here I had the luxury where I could employ 2 women full time.
Okay. Big difference.
Here. The downside of that, though, and now we get into the training parts of this a little bit. Nobody here is trained. So because nobody here was trained, I took it on to hire 2 and train them both.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Which, yeah, that had to be really interesting in terms of tackling that if there's no base to start with. How did you go about getting people trained and even attracting them to this?
Actually, I have how I attracted both people. I have a friend here who runs a foundation for alcoholics. Mm-hmm. And what I did is I interviewed a number of the people who had been quote unquote dry for years, and 2 of them stuck out to me to have good hearts, quick minds, and wanted to learn and work. And that's when I approached healthcare.
Okay, healthcare.
Interactive in the States there. And John was nice enough to give me his courses. We translated those, and we still are now. And I sat down with them and went through each and every course. So Romania in Europe right now has the only other 2 certified Alzheimer's caregivers besides myself that reside here in Eastern Europe.
Okay. Well, that's fabulous that you were able to do that. Can you give people just an idea of time frame from, when you thought, hey, I want to do something with education, to when you were actually able to partner and deliver something?
Okay. When I wanted to do something with education began in the year 2009. And how it began was this. I came here. I sat down with my wife's mom, her cousins, everything, and said, look, I would like to train you all how this disease is going to progress. And they looked at me, and the question back to me was, why? Which, as Americans, and we deal with this each day, why is something we don't ask? Why is something we say we need this?
Yep.
Necessity-wise.
Yeah.
Everything. So when people began to ask why, that's when I basically approached John, but I didn't actually approach him until the year 2011, it was. Everything. By the time we got the courses, by the time we translated even the initial basis and everything, I was literally taking the course in English, reading it into Romanian to the 2 girls who I had hired, and only now are we in the process of doing the videotapes. So you can see from 2011 to 2017, it's been over five years, and it's still being worked on.
Yep, it's a slow process, but it's one that is definitely needed, and I appreciate your tenacity to go through the process and to continue. Because a lot of times, especially after somebody loses a loved one, they kind of run and hide from the disease and don't want anything to do with it anymore. And even though your wife has passed, you're still hanging in there with it and still moving things forward. And I like many, appreciate your efforts and Healthcare Interactives as well, to get this job done and to help share share the knowledge, because it is so critical. I find it interesting that they wanted to know why. Why would we want to know that? Because when you said that, I just kind of smiled, thinking, well, of course. I mean, we just push our doctors here for the whys and how longs, and I mean, we just want control over the disease here. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they don't look at disease like that in terms of control, because that's what I see the U.S. trying to do, is trying to control it. And that's why we ask all those questions.
Exactly. How the disease is looked at here, it's looked at probably the way the U.S. looked at it 50 years ago, whereas if a parent had it, you kept them in the house. You didn't take them out because you didn't want the public knowing what you were going through, what they were going through. I experienced that for at least a good 18 to 24 months with my wife's mom. She would go out with her and people would ask, what's wrong? Nothing, she's ill. And I would say, no, she has Alzheimer's disease. She has dementia. Bear with me, because we would be in a restaurant and she would outburst, or she couldn't control herself. People would look and her mom would be embarrassed and say, why do you take us out? I said, because it's good to take her out and get her out and do these things. Yeah. So no, exactly. You're 100% correct. People from different parts of the world perceive this disease very, very differently. As Americans, we are more open to discussion, promotion, teaching, everything. A good example of this, Lori, when we started to do the videotapes here, there's a young psychiatrist here who's very, very active in this field. We wanted to videotape her. She said, you can use my voice. I don't want people to see my face because I'm afraid of the repercussions that may occur.
Oh, wow. Wow. It's amazing to me. And I know different cultures look at things differently, but to hear it actually stated from someone who's seen it and lived it, there's a whole different power to it. So that talks to your bravery and your commitment to pushing this forward. One question I wanted to ask is, when you, let's say, were out in public and you tried to explain to people what was going on, what was their reaction? When you're trying to educate people on this?
I found this to be more of an age-based proposition. Okay, the people that were more, let's say, your age or my age, weren't interested in listening to what's going on and why. The younger people, such as, I'll say this much. I did a speech 2 weeks ago in front of the medical school, and there were a number of residents and students there. Everyone asked me very pointed questions, much more so than their professors did. Mm-hmm. So getting back to your question, the young people were eager. They wanted to learn. They wanted to help. The older people walked by and would tend to avoid any discussion. Okay. By the way, one of your people that is, I think, a regular on your show, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Michael Ellen Bogan.
Ellen Bogan, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was born here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that, okay.
It's always good to know secrets. No, no,
Okay. Okay. He was born here, and he is he's actually one of my heroes at this time too, because he's actually somebody experiencing what my wife did, but he took the bulls by the horn, and he's still running as fast as he can. And my hat goes off each day for him.
Yeah, Michael is wonderful. In fact, we just had him on our dementia chats this morning. And one of the things, and I'll be editing that and getting that out, but we talked about trials and getting people involved, and just had a fascinating conversation about how the trial companies aren't formatting their questions properly, and they're not getting the information to the right people to get people involved. And they just had a lot of great suggestions. And that's what Michael's all about. Really at the forefront of connecting people and moving things forward. So I'll have to make sure that he listens to this show. I tried to see if he could actually be on with us today, but his schedule just didn't accommodate that. So I had him for an hour this morning on a different platform that we do. I do want to mention that we did get a comment here from one of our listeners, from Thomas. And Tomas is in Hungary, and he said the situation is very similar there in his neighborhoods to what you are explaining over in Romania. And so he's been kind of fighting that battle as well. And so you're right. Tomas, yep. And
Thomas, if you're listening, hello. We know each other, okay? We communicate.
Yep. And it looks like he's associated with an Alzheimer's cafe, too, as
Yes.
well. So wonderful. And I'm not sure if it's the Tomas that I know or not, but no matter what, we say hi and always appreciate everybody's conversation during our sessions here on Alzheimer's Speak. So feel free to please use the live chat, and we'll pull in your comment or question as we go. I did want to talk to you a little bit about, you're a real big believer in the whole education for people dealing with dementia, for both the care receiver and the caregiver. Can you explain to us why you feel the need for both, and how are you going about doing that? Is that strictly through the Healthcare Interactive, or do you have some other things going on as well?
Actually, we have some different programs going on. As you know, Alzheimer's is a progressive disease. Okay, there's only up to a certain point of time that you can even educate the what we'll call the care receiver at this time and that. So what we've done, and if I can plug what we're doing in TeleMed, Europa, and Telios now a little bit, okay? Mm-hmm. We are giving caregivers and patients 24, and this is not only for Alzheimer's, this is for dementia, this is for any other health situation too. We are giving people access to 24/7, 365 doctor-driven hotlines, which people can call, ask questions on, and either ask questions about themselves or ask questions about the people that they are caring for. One of the things we had to do, and Lori, you're well aware of this, funding ventures is something you do with your heart. Okay, mm-hmm. Romania is especially difficult because nothing here exists like this. So what we did is we started the TeleMed Europa project and the Telios project, and we are approaching companies to educate their employees, to take care of their parents, to take care of nutrition, to take care of to watch for signs of dementia, to watch for any other particular signs that they may see and have concerns for in that. And we're offering that as an insurance program. And then we've commercialized that, and that is what is funding our Alzheimer's and dementia education program, i.e., redoing the videotapes, having town hall meetings, being able to educate people without cost. We don't want anybody to be lacking and say, we can't afford a video machine. We can't afford a tablet. We have already participated in a number of town hall type of meetings here where we bring the care receiver and the caregiver in, and if the care receiver can still understand, we work with them equally as much as we do the care provider. And then as the care receiver slips more and more, we give the care provider as much support as we can.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That is just wonderful to do. Can you tell us, a little bit, we had talked offline a little bit about a solution you call the KISS. And can you explain what the KISS is and how you feel that that's applicable in terms of moving forward with your goals?
Apt question. Okay. KISS principle is something every business student learns in management school. KISS principle means keep it simple, stupid. Okay. That's basically it. Okay. What the States is very good at, and by the way, the States is the best at this. Every educational program, every new development that comes out, anything that happens like this needs to address a person that has no more than a sixth grade education level, and that is to keep people's attention. You don't want to get too technical. You don't want to get too involved in the disease itself. What people want to know is, how do I cope with a certain situation each day? And we don't say, if A happens, then you have to do B, then you have to do C, then you have to do D. We want it as easy as steps 1, 2, and 3. Keep it reaction time short and make sure that people understand what they are looking at. The CARES program that your friend John has there does a tremendous job of explaining it, because he keeps it like that. He keeps it very simple and very direct.
Yeah, which is absolutely critical. Again, in our dementia chats this morning when we were talking about clinical trials, that was one of the main points that came across, was that it wasn't, people couldn't complete the information, or they couldn't understand it to complete it. And that is a critical piece, like you said, in every business, but it is highly overlooked, I think, by many, because we just always assume that everybody we're dealing with, is of the same educational level and has the same skill sets. And we really have to know our target markets and who we're trying to reach and why. Very important.
Exactly.
Yes. Can you tell our audience, what are you currently doing to promote the cause, from an education to kind of a human rights issue?
Okay. Well, I've always been a little bit of a radical in my life. Okay, one thing I found that in different countries people react very differently, such as in the States. Okay, the States are more aware of the rights of a person to be able to go into a restaurant and sit and not be disturbed. So what we have done is we have printed up a lot of dementia friendly posters that are going around in restaurants too, putting them up in public places, which, by the way, was not allowed. I put them up. They were immediately torn down. I had to get permits to do it. So what we want to do is say, hey, the people with dementia also are human beings. They have rights. I'll tell you a quick story what occurred to me, and one of your listeners, Thomas, knows about this too, everything. Last year, what had occurred, my wife's family thought that they could do a better job than I was doing. So essentially, they kidnapped my wife. And I did not find her for 6 weeks. I went to the police here, and because we were married in the States and we weren't married in Romania here, the police did not recognize my marriage and did not recognize me as her husband, and therefore would not react.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, it took me 6 weeks to find her and to get her back, and which I did, and that. But the authorities would not lift a finger because they said, I don't have any rights. I'm not legally her husband here, so therefore I have no rights. They can't do anything, only if she makes a complaint. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, I said, how is she going to make a complaint? She has Alzheimer's. She's in the last stage of this now. Well, we're sorry, we can't help you. These are the type of things that I'm bringing out in the open now and publicizing more. And people need to know this, that they need to speak up and be heard. Otherwise, this disease will never come out in the open like it is more in the States, Western Europe. Eastern Europe here is still shut down. The people with this disease have absolutely no rights to determine their future.
You know, we had a case like that, and I've been given permission to talk about it with one of our folks in our memory cafe, where it was second marriage, and the husband took just amazing care of his wife, just amazing care. And I mean, we all saw that throughout the memory cafe for quite a long period of time. But family was kind of in denial of the disease as a whole, and took her for, it was 2 or 3 months, and then finally realized that she, really needed a lot more care than what they thought. But it was just such a stressful situation, and he decided not to involve the police, even though he knew he had legal rights, because he also knew that she loved her family, and he just didn't want to cause her any more stress. And he just said he just kept praying that things would come around, because he was just crushed. She was his soulmate his whole life. And but things like this do happen in the U.S. I think a lot of people think that it doesn't, but it does. It's just, again, one of those things that people don't talk about, because what do you say? And the accusations, across the table can just be so severe, and it's very complicated. It's very, very complicated piece to try to figure out. And just, I can't even imagine how emotionally draining going through something like that must have been.
Oh, it was very, very, very much. I said I'm very thankful that our last wishes were regarded. That when she passed, she was in my arms, looking at me directly, and that is what we had agreed to 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's it's tough stuff. The whole family dynamics, and then even what happens after somebody passes, and what are you left to deal with there? And so many people don't think about all of those pieces of care. And it's so easy, especially when others are far away. They don't see the day-to-day stuff that a care partner is dealing with so often, and it can really just devastate lives. Just absolutely devastate lives. Go ahead.
Exactly. And lastly, I'd like to say, as a caregiver, okay, one of the things, technology is great. There are so many devices out there that can help people that are in the situation like I was, that will give them a little bit more freedom, give them a little bit more time, and help the care receiver and the caregiver both to have better lives, and even to the point of keeping them out of a skilled care facility for as much time as you can.
Sure.
To do this. And I'd like, if am I allowed to plug something?
Sure. Why stop? Okay, go ahead, plug away.
Okay, no, and because there's two particular things there, along with our telehealth education, our caregiving program. We're also investing our time and energy into two particular devices. One is called Tender Care Hub, and that is www.tender, TENDR, care, CARE.com. And this is a monitoring system that is one-stop setup. That and with that, if I would have had a device like this 11 years back, it would have freed up probably 3 to 4 more years of my life. Okay, with that one. And the other one we're also doing is it's www.join, JOIN, loop, LOOP.com. And I'm not going to even try and explain this. It's the coolest device, and I've used it over here for a couple of early patients with their families and kids, and the people are enjoying it immensely. And by the way, this is part of corporate responsibility, Lori, which I know you're aware of, okay, is 20% of our profits off of those devices go to Alzheimer's, either research, helping, wherever the people, what we did, what we're doing for the end of this year, we have a particular fund, and we're letting people that bought these devices actually vote and say where they want these monies to go to.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to plug that, but corporate responsibility is something that you guys know in America. We're trying to initiate it here also, where the corporations and the people who are providing the jobs are also providing the help for the people who work these jobs.
Well, that's fantastic. And this disease affects their employees. It affects their clients. It's silly not to participate in this. This is right up there with cancer and heart disease and so many others. And it needs to be recognized because it's creeping up really, really fast, and we're not taking pace with it. One question I wanted to ask was, Tomas had shared with us in the chat box that he had to put his mom into a care home. He really didn't have any choice to do that. He was caring for her 24/7 without any help. But he's running into situations where he doesn't feel like staff are as educated as they should be. Do you have some suggestions for him in terms of trying to deal with staff or try to get education for his staff over in Hungary?
Excuse me. My first cough of the day. Okay. No. Sorry about. Yes, there's two particular things that can be done. I'm very well aware of the situation that he's running into. There's two particular things that can be done. He can spend a couple of, if they'll allow him. Some homes are different, some homes will not. If they'll allow him to stay there and spend time there and work and watch what they do, he can educate them on what he would like. Now, what they do while he's gone, who knows? Okay. On the other portion, what he can do, if they understand English at all, we can offer some professional coursework too. And Thomas is well aware of that. Him and I communicate a lot. And I'm well aware that he took care of his mom, and I know that it tears his heart out that he had to put her into a home. The only thing next to home care that's better is if he can spend more time with her at the facility that she's at and try and work with staff a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's never an easy decision. I know when we had to place my mom, it was the last place I wanted her to be, but I also knew it was the best place for her to be. But it's still very, 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 very difficult. Anytime you have that kind of change, going on, it's not easy. Thomas notes there's no foreign language skills, and he says, I'm afraid. Thank you for your suggestions, Philip. So that, communication is just key, and education has to go hand in hand with that. And it just takes all of us just kind of pushing things forward constantly and stepping out of that box. And it's hard. It's hard, and it's tiring, and it's frustrating. And I think one of the best ways to keep up your energy with that is just to stay socially connected via social networks, because there's a lot of people kind of beating that same drum. And when you can connect with like minds, it just makes the job a little bit easier, I think. Anyways, that's what's worked for me. I would like to ask, and just kind of a wrap-up question here, Philip. What's coming in the future? What do you see for 2017?
What do I see for 2017? Let's see. If I look into my crystal ball right now, it's a little bit cloudy. But no, what do I see for 2017? I see the completion of the family caregiving course for the Alzheimer's caregiver there. I see the completion of that course. I see the beginning of the translation and the video work being done on the professional course, because our next step here is to take the professional course that is only offered in the States at this point in time, take it and to be able to offer it to the professional people here who want to learn. Again, repeating myself from before, the younger people, the younger medical staff, they're thirsty for this. They wish to learn. So I see that our education is going to take a new realm, and we're pushing, again, more corporations to back us with our Telios program to give their employees also the best in healthcare questions, and hopefully a life-changing opportunity to set their own directions here.
Okay, great. Do you have any specific words to somebody who wants to get involved advocating in their country?
Yes, I do. Okay. The Alzheimer's societies in each country are trying to do the best job that they have. If you're interested in being an advocate in your country, I would suggest to contact the Alzheimer's societies, for one thing. Okay. You can then generate in your own mind if their cause is actually something you want to get involved with or not. The Purple Angel cause has been a terrific cause. Norms has done an absolutely tremendous job, and I'm sure that you'll agree with this, Lori, too. He has put his heart and soul in this, and this organization has grown worldwide so quickly, and I haven't heard one bad thing said about it. So
pretty incredible.
If anybody is interested in this, I would say that either Alzheimer's Society within your country or contact Norms also.
Yeah. And if you're in the U.S., actually Alzheimer's Speaks is kind of the mothership for that. So you can just go to alzheimerspeaks.com, go on our initiatives and projects tab, and then scroll down to the Purple Angel. There'll be more information in how you can get involved with that. It costs no money, takes very little time, and we would love to have you join the cause. This is something I think a lot of organizations thought wasn't going to last and was going to go away, and they're really seeing, I think, the power behind the passion and the grassroots effect, which is really kind of fun to see and watch. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you, Philip, if they'd like to talk with you further?
Emails. And I think you have posted them on your site there.
Yep. So
emails are the best way. I don't have a Facebook page. I'm a little embarrassed to say that, but
it doesn't take long to create one.
I don't have a Facebook page, but my wife Carmen still has one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and her name was Carmen Almasan, Almasan, and you can friend me there. I will start a Facebook page. I probably will. That's probably a good thing.
That would be a great thing, I think.
Okay, and I am also on LinkedIn.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I so appreciate your time with us today. It's been a very interesting and enlightening conversation, this navigating the barriers and bridges between Romania and America. And it's it's like I said, just absolutely a fascinating process. Tomas is just saying, thank you so much for the program. It was very interesting. Enjoy the holiday season, he says. So thank you. We will definitely do that, Tomas, and right back at you. I really appreciate your time telling us, the kind of the love story between you and your wife, and what you did to make her comfortable in her last years is pretty incredible. Not everybody would switch countries, even though you were comfortable there. It's still a move like that is pretty big, and I just think that that's amazing. That you knew that she would be more comfortable there, and so that's where you wanted to go.
If I can inject one more thought on that, my brother-in-law, and I'll give this as an ending summary of type. My brother-in-law took care of Carmen's sister in the States. She had this disease also. Her father died at the age of 52. Her sister died in the States at the age of 52. Her husband, who was taking care of her, had a heart attack 1 month before she passed away, and he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When I brought her back here, everybody in the family in the States thought, no, why did you bring her back here? The medical care is here. I said she doesn't need medical care right now. There's no cures on the horizon. She's in the Dion study. If anything occurs, we'll know about it. I'm going to bring her back here. She lasted 4 years longer than anybody else in her family.
Wow. That social connection is, I think, so vitally critical, and I think it's overlooked way more than it should be. And again, I think there's another proven case of it right there with you. Letting her be around comfortable surroundings is just massive. Again, today on Dementia Chats, that's one of the things we talked about is anybody doing a study about even the advocates like Michael Ellenbogen and Norms McNamara and so many others in terms of, is it affecting their quality of life and their length of life? And I truly believe that it has a huge impact when people have that, not only the social connection, but then if you add on top of it a purpose. And I think that would be a fascinating study. I would love to see more of it done, not just specific to arts or music or something, but just that whole true engagement of family and friends.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And maybe one of these days, or maybe there's one going on out there, I just don't know about it, or more than one. I would love to hear about it if anyone is studying that.
I'm sure that there is, and if I can inject one more short story.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved back here, we were back here about a month, and my mother-in-law took her out for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back, and my mother-in-law was alone. And in Romanian, I said, "Where is Carmen? I lost her." I said, "What do you mean you lost her?" I went to buy bread, and I left her alone for a minute. I left her. I said, "You left her alone?" "Yes, I left her alone." And when I turned around, she was gone. We called the police. We did what we needed to do. One of my friends who knew about the disease, I didn't even think about this, said, "Let's look at the house where she grew up," which was a couple miles away from the place that we had lost her. We drove over to the house where she had grown up as a child, and she was standing in front of that house.
Wow. Yep. And yet, how could you be surprised when that's their present? their past becomes their present. And
Exactly.
yeah. But again, one of those things that is so overlooked and misunderstood when it comes to this disease. So, well, again, thank you so much, Philip, for being with us. Jane Moore over in the UK says Happy New Year to all, and please, she's asking that you please friend her on Facebook. So Jane is Norm's McNamara right and left arm when it comes to the Purple Angel Project.
She, I believe, was the co-founder, correct?
Yep. And she really keeps the wheels spinning and organized and things. So she has her hands and her heart full when it comes to this project. Very much so.
Well, Jane, if you're listening also, short story, when we took some of yours and Norm's posters and redid them in our language here and put them up, some of the places we put them up in, we asked them also, this is why the educational part comes in so important. We asked them, we'd like to put these up for your customers who have dementia, so the families can come in and sit here and communicate and have a good time and be at peace. And they asked the same question that my family asked. Why?
Yep, it's amazing. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, Philip. Really appreciate it very much. For those of you that are new to the Alive and Social Network, you might want to check out one of my colleagues, Rachel Perrin, who is a culinary director for Kowalski's Market. Her and her sidekick, Adam Lee, talk weekly about different types of foods, seasonal flavors, trending topics on nutrition, which I'm sure will be hitting high coming the first of the year. They have a segment called What's for Dinner Tonight, and their podcasts are usually 10 to 15 minutes per episode, so they're really great, when you're busy and yet you're hungry and trying to figure out what the heck to put on your plate. Each episode ends with an easy and delicious seasonal menu suggestion, and they also list all their complete menus at Kowalskis.com. That's KOWALSKIS.com. As for our channel here on Alzheimer Speaks, not sure if you heard our last episode, but we had Dr. Richard Fenker on. He is the author of Don't Rain on My Parade. We also had Brian LeBlanc, who is living with dementia, and a care partner, Leslie Dilworth, join us in that conversation. We are going to be having Bob Savage on January 3rd. He is also a person living with dementia. And then on January 5th, we're going to have Kathy Slough on, and she is a cruise planner for caregivers and their care partners. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation coming up this next week. Our last Dementia Chats that we have posted for video for you to watch talks about moving and construction and how it affects somebody living with dementia. We have a couple of great ones coming up that I have to get edited. One is going to be on advocacy and passing of the wand and how is that done. And then we have another one on trials and should you get involved? If so, how? And then we're going to have a shorter piece just on the holidays and how traditions have stayed the same and yet changed. What else can I tell you? I'll be doing some previews of the fabulous film about dementia and a caring family and community called His Neighbor Phil. I will be out in Woodbury, Minnesota, January 7th, and out in Vadnais Heights in Minnesota, January 26th. February, I'm going to be in Indiana and Illinois. And then in March, I've got a couple more previews in Woodbury here again. So if you're interested in any of those, please reach out to me and I can give you details. All of those are free, free to view, and we would love to have you join us. I also want to give a plug on January 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I am going to be excuse me, I am going to be on Blog Talk Radio with host Gigi Adams Evans and her co-host PJ Sampson of the Artist Loft, and we're going to discuss caregiving and driving change in dementia care. So feel free to tune into that. Last, I just want to give a big shout out to the Caregiver Alert Center. If you're not aware of them or have not used them, I highly encourage you to check out the Caregiver Alert Center. It is a phenomenal and very reasonably priced service that I personally use actually for my grandchildren and pets. And they have different segments, but it's a wonderful section that they have for caregivers or even people who travel, because we never know when something could happen to any of us, and it's just nice to have a backup plan and really be able to tap into social media at its highest and finest mode. In wrapping up, I just want to say, please, when you are dealing with someone with dementia, focus first on, are they safe, are they happy, and are they pain-free? You can always pick up your free memory chip on alzheimerspeaks.com. Talk to you soon.
Hi, this is Suzanne Newman, host of the Answers for Elders podcast and radio show. We are the North Star that guides you through the complicated journey of senior care with trusted experts in money, law, living solutions, and more. So join us on this station, your favorite podcast channel, or just go to AnswersForElders.com. Meet the Wayshowers who will help your journey go a lot easier.